Our first step in demolding is going to be removing the mold box walls. Not every type of mold design will have this step, but the majority of the molds we'll create early on will follow this construction. Let's look at the best practices to follow and some things to keep in mind while we remove our walls. Our first thing to pay attention to is the construction of our mold box. Depending on the type of mold box we used, we can approach this process differently. If we used a convenience mold or even a light-duty mold, we can most likely just tear away at our mold box since we don't plan to reuse this material. Keep in mind how the material of our mold box will affect our demolding though. If we used a plastic container, we may need to carefully use an X-Acto knife or another tool to cut it away. If we find ourselves running into sharp corners, then properly protecting our hands is a good idea. A foam core construction is usually easy to remove without the need for additional tools or safety equipment. If we used a more heavy-duty construction with screws or another type of fastener, then we'll need to be more methodical with how we actually remove our mold box. Keeping track of the walls and the fasteners can make rebuilding our mold box easier if we plan to make another mold. In this case, we can label our heavy-duty materials with useful information, including the project that it's associated with, the amount of silicone we used, and any other helpful notes that we may want to recall for the next time. With our walls removed, let's look at getting our base separated from our mold. Earlier in our process, a key step was adhering our master to the base. What we use to lock our master in place will impact what we do to remove it now. For masters that were screwed down or affixed using another heavy connection, we'll want to remove any fasteners before trying to remove our base from the mold. If we don't, then we may add stress to our mold or the master itself that could cause damage to either. If we used another, less intense way of adhering our master, such as hot glue, then we know that applying a slight amount of force will most likely unstick our base. When we go to remove our base in this case, we'll take our time and apply steady pressure without aggressive actions. A steady pressure will release the glue and allow our base to come right off. Regardless of the construction we used, we may run into a fair amount of suction between our silicone and the walls of our mold box. This is normal and will require some steady pressure to break that suction, introduce some air, and then remove our wall.